All right, it's time to move on to the NFC South, our record predictions for the division: Atlanta Falcons, the Saints, the Panthers, and the Bucks. And it seems like this is the division where we have the most disagreement. I'm looking at
Yeah,
some
I was
of
a
our games here and like we're way off.
yeah, I was about to say there is quite a bit of parity here, and there has not been in
Mhm.
previous videos. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this one today.
Yeah, it might get a little contentious, a little heated.
A little bit. It's really going to stem from the fact that you are much more optimistic on the Saints than I am, but even the Panthers, you seem to be quite enthusiastic about. You got the Panthers like
I
having a
am.
better record than like the Browns did this year. So,
I think the Panthers are going to sneak up on some people, and that's not just like a cat metaphor. Like, I honestly think they are going to sneak up on some people. They're going to be better than a lot of people think. I mean, 3-14, isn't that what they had? Was it like 2-15? I think it was 2-15, but I
mhm.
would be surprised if they're only a game better than last year.
I'm worried about them a little bit. You know, they got a new coach to deal with, and they've still got a lot of missing pieces that they gotta
Yeah.
figure out. And
I mean, yeah,
Jonathan Mingo needs to leave his dingo territory behind, you know?
I
He's
think
gotta like
Jonathan
step
Mingo is
up.
going to be on the way out, and it's the other receiver that they picked up. They picked up Who was it that they picked up for that trade with the Bills at the last pick of the first round? Man, I'll have to go back and look, but he's a good
Oh
player.
man, wasn't like a Xavier? Was that his name
Oh,
or
Xavier
no?
Legette. Yeah, yeah, from South Carolina. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
huge, huge pickup. But also, I actually really like the head coach, and I think him coming over from Tampa. I mean, he's an offensive minded guy, and
hmm
that's like a guaranteed win at least once against Tampa if you are bringing over the previous offensive coordinator.
You think?
Yeah, he knows all their secrets. He knows how Baker Mayfield plays. Honestly, I would not be surprised if they swept the Bucks for that reason. He knows Baker Mayfield better than probably most people do.
Okay. I guess that is a fair assessment that I did not consider
hmm
when making my
I mean,
picks here,
who
but
for Baker Mayfield, who got the best year out of him? It was Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator from Tampa last year, who is now the
that is
head coach
true.
at
But maybe
Carolina.
Tampa is reforming their offense.
I just don't see it with Tampa this year. I think they're going to have a little bit of a step down.
Yeah, I mean, having them as the
The
last
worst
place
team.
team in this division is a little bit surprising to me, like after they just won the division and made the playoffs, but I mean, it's certainly liable to happen because there wasn't a whole lot of, you know,
No.
difference between them and the Falcons and the Saints last year, so
Exactly. I mean, they were all like one game apart, and I'm sure I'll mention at some point in the video if the Saints did not lose to Green Bay on the missed field goal, they would have made the playoffs instead of the Bucks, and they probably would have beaten the Eagles as
that's true.
well. So, I mean, like literally, the Saints
hmm
got hot at the end of last year, and I think it'll carry into this year. But anyways, we're gonna start with the Falcons here. If you want to rifle through those picks.
Yeah, let's do it. So I've got the Falcons winning the division here at 10-7, but not by much. Only a one game lead over the Saints and the Buccaneers, who I both have going 9-8. But yeah, let's just start off here with Pittsburgh at Atlanta here. I've got Atlanta winning this game and the next game against the Eagles. I like Kirk to start off season hot in his new team. All right. So I like that. But then we've got Kansas City at Atlanta. I don't think that they're going to pull off a victory against the Super Bowl champs. And then we've got two more games here: New Orleans at Atlanta and Tampa Bay at Atlanta, two more division matchups. And before we get into who I think will win those games, I just wanted to note real quick, this is the first stretch of games that I have seen in the entire NFL schedule here where one team is home 3 consecutive weeks, like home
Yep,
or away for that matter. So Atlanta's got 3 straight home games here, and 4 out of the first 5 games are home, which is
that's
wild.
huge. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a
huge.
crazy start to the season. But all right. Anyways, so I think New Orleans is going to drop this game to Atlanta. Atlanta will win, and they'll also get a win against Tampa Bay. So they're going to start off their season really strong here, 4-1. And then they're even going to to win a few more games along the way, but they're going to drop the next game here to Carolina. Kind of a spooky little loss to Carolina after beating New Orleans and Tampa Bay, but they've got three straight division games in a row here. I feel like they're liable to drop one of those. So I think it's going to be to Carolina. Then we've got a game or they're at home when they're facing Seattle. I think they're going to get a win here, but then they're going to drop the next one to Tampa Bay. So they'll split the games against the Buccaneers. And then they're also going to drop the next game to Dallas. And then even another one they're going to lose now to New Orleans here in the next week. So they go on a little bit of a losing streak there after starting off hot in the first 5 games and winning 4. Out of the next 5, they're going to lose 4. So then they've got a game right before their week 12 bye. They've got in week 11, they're going to face Denver. I think that they'll get a win there, have some optimism heading into the bye. And then when they come back from the bye, though, they're not going to be supercharged and they're going to lose to the Chargers. It's going to be a close game, but they're going to drop this one. And then they're even going to drop a game to Minnesota afterwards, but they're going to end the season super strong, getting wins against Vegas, the Giants, Washington, and Carolina to close out the season at 10-7. So going into week 15 here, I've got them as just a 6-7 team. And then they're going to go on an absolute tear to close out the season, finish 10-7, make it to the playoffs.
It is an easier stretch there at the end. They do have that in
Yeah.
their favor for sure. I have
Yeah, I'm
them
a little
going
more
9-8.
optimistic with Kirk. I feel good
Yeah,
about it, but the Michael Penix Jr. pick is still wacky.
right.
We'll see what
Almost
happens.
forgot about that because it's just so out of
Hmm.
left field. But yeah, I have the Falcons being pretty much as good as you have them, just one game worse. And I
Hmm.
also agree that they start off strong. Kirk start in Atlanta, winning at home against Pittsburgh, but going on the road and losing to the other Pennsylvania team, the Eagles. So a little different there. It's quite bold that you have them going on the road to beat the Eagles. That's crazy.
They're starting hot, dude. They're going to start off strong.
Kansas City, Atlanta. I'm surprised you didn't have Atlanta winning this one too.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be way too bold, bro.
Too hot of a start. Yeah.
Yeah, but I picked Atlanta like several weeks back. I think it was probably 3 weeks
Hmm.
ago when we made the Eagles or
I
like
know.
the NFC
Right.
picks there. So yeah, I was just referencing the old one. I didn't change intrinsically over the course of the few weeks there.
There was one that I wanted to change that retroactively I thought I was a
Really?
little bit off on, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that one. So I also have them losing to Kansas City, but then going
Hmm.
on a little bit of a win streak here, beating the Saints at home and beating the Bucks at home. So two divisional rivals at home. Then lose a game on the road to the Panthers simply because it's on the road. Then they come back at home and beat Seattle. So they're in a pretty good spot here. That's one, two,
Hmm.
three, 4 wins. So that's 4-3, not a bad spot. They then even it out though when they go and lose at Tampa. Then they come back home, lose to Dallas. Then they go on the road to New Orleans, lose there. So a 3-game losing streak that they snap in Denver. Then they're by, so they are a couple games under 500 at this point. But at home again, Chargers. Unfortunately, they lose there. I think the Chargers really get hot at the end of the year. And this is
Hmm.
unfortunately when the Falcons have to face them. But going on the road to Kirk's ex team, that's an easy win for me. I'm very surprised that you have the Vikings actually winning that game.
I picked them in
Atlanta,
week 1.
I
That's like one
know.
of the 3 games I've got the Vikings winning.
Man, I don't even know if I had the Vikings winning more than 2 games. But yeah, Atlanta at Vegas. I could see this one going either way, but I'm going to take the Falcons. Then Giants at Atlanta. I'm actually taking the Falcons, despite how positive
Hmm.
I was with the Giants. But then they go on the road and lose to Washington, Kirk's XX team. And that's a little
Hmm.
bit of a shocker, but I think I had to give Washington a win in there somewhere, and this is just where it
Right.
fell. But then coming back at home, trying to win like a wild card spot here. And so they beat Carolina at home. I don't know if it'll be enough though at 9-8 to make the wild card, but it might be as the NFC is a weaker conference.
Right. Not bad. It's actually quite similar to mine. Normally like when you've got a record very close, like it seems like we get there in very different ways,
Yeah,
but in
right
this
now I
case we only
know.
have 3 games different on the entire
Yeah,
season. So
I know. That's
not bad.
crazy.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, heading into the Panthers here, huge difference here. I've got
Yeah.
4 games less that I think they're going to win than you. I've got them going 3-14, basically being just as bad as last year. I don't have as much confidence in them, but after hearing your thought process behind the Buccaneers situation, I do think that they're liable to get maybe a win against the Bucks, but I'm going to keep it as is the way I initially made my picks here. So starting off week 1, Carolina at New Orleans, they're going to lose week 1. New Orleans is going to get the victory there. New Orleans will be solid this year, not as solid as they can be, but they're going to get a win against Carolina. And the Panthers are also going to drop the second game against the Chargers. The Chargers are going to be good. I mean, they're going to be able to take care of business, especially in the first few games. If they've got an easy team, Harbaugh is going to be out to try and prove himself, so they're going to want to get that win. And then the Panthers are also going to drop next few games here. They're going to drop one to Vegas, and then they're going to drop one to Cincinnati and the Bears. So they're going to start off really slow, 0-6, no 0-5, sorry, to start off the season here. But they're finally going to get their first win in Week 6 against Atlanta, against their division rival here. So not bad. 1-5, kind of bad, but then they're actually going to go on a little bit of a tear because they're going to win the next game too here against Washington. I see you've got them going on an absolute tear in the middle of the season here, but
Big time.
yeah, this is definitely the easiest stretch of their schedule here is this set of games. But I think they'll win against Atlanta first, and they'll get a win against Washington. But I think Denver is liable to snap their winning streak here and make them drop a game. And then we're also going to have them facing New Orleans for the second time here. New Orleans is going to get another victory against them. But then the Panthers make their way out to Germany, bro, and they're going to snag a victory in Germany.
Crossing the pond.
I know, dude. They're crossing the pond and I don't know, they're gonna feast on some Bavarian pretzels and they're just gonna feel surged to beat the Giants. Plus, you might remember my Giants record was only 1-16 this year, so of
That's
course,
also crazy.
yeah. But anyways, then after their humongous flight to Germany, they got to take a week off. They need that week 11 bye, and then they're going to come back from their bye and they're going to get trounced, absolutely pummeled by the Chiefs
No,
here. Yeah, dude, it's happening. And
brutal.
yeah, I know. And then they're going to face Tampa Bay. Now, this is one that I honestly would be liable to change here since they are at home against Tampa. I honestly would be fine with changing that pick as well because it would not change any of my playoff predictions here either, since I think the Falcons will be making the playoffs. But I have the Buccaneers winning this one. I think that it's going to like be more of a toss up then, especially since Carolina's at home. Then they've got a game here against the Eagles. They're going to drop that game. Eagles are still going to be solid at the end of the season. And then against Dallas, of course, I don't think Carolina's going to get a win against Dallas there. Closing out the season, they've got a few more games that are more winnable, but still not the greatest. They've got a game against Arizona here, which feels like it could go either way, but knowing that I haven't made my Arizona picks yet, I feel like I need to give Arizona a win or two in there.
Mhm.
And then closing out the season, we've got games against Tampa Bay again and also at Atlanta. I don't think Carolina will win either of those. So bringing it to a close there, got them going 3-14, not very optimistic, and all of their wins come in like the middle of the season before they even have their week 11 bye.
Sounds good. I think that it's a little unfair, like a little disrespectful
Mm,
to the Panthers,
yeah.
selling them short, only a game improvement with all the changes they made. But that being said, I am not going to be shocked if they flounder yet again. The organization just historically is not great.
Right.
And yeah, we'll just see how it unfolds. I do have them improving quite a bit, 7-10 for me, but that won't do any damage, won't sniff a playoff spot, in my opinion. They are going to come out and lose the first week at New Orleans, but then beat the Chargers at home. I think the Chargers are going to be a little soft, a little rough during the beginning of Jim
Mm,
Harbaugh's stay. And so that's why I think the Panthers are able to take advantage of that. Then they go to Vegas, drop a game there at home against the Bengals. That's a loss. They win 4 games in a row here, which is just mind blowing to say about the
it is,
Panthers.
yeah.
But it's an easy stretch, though. At Chicago, I'm going to take the Panthers. At home against the Falcons, I'm taking the Panthers. At Washington and at Denver, I'm taking the Panthers in all of those. Although, actually, I'm pretty sure I took the Bears in my original pick. So we
Mm-hmm.
might have to do a little bit of an audit here, real quick,
All
because that
right.
doesn't feel super right. Let's do a little audit. Yeah, I did have the
This
Bears winning. Okay.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna
So
say.
a 3 game winning streak, though. So 6 and
Mm-hmm.
11. That seems a little bit better. I'm actually really comfortable with that because I feel like the actual like reality will be in between like both of our
Yeah,
guesses
I was
here.
just gonna say. I feel like the 5 and 12 is probably what's most likely to happen here.
The
But
5 and 12 does feel nice. But
yeah.
yeah, I do have them still doing that 3 game winning streak. Couple of them on the road there, but then they come home and they lose to the Saints. So the Saints sweep them here. Then in Germany, I do have the Giants winning. I don't think they feel energized at all. Plus, I like the Giants a lot this year. 9-8, I believe I had them. Going into the bye, not a horrible spot. I think they're pretty much like 4-5, 4-6. But then, yeah, Carolina against the Chiefs. That's a brutal one. That's gonna be like a noon game. It'll probably be over in like an hour and a half. Patrick Mahomes will have like 5 touchdowns, and everyone will forget about that game. I'm pretty sure they faced a few years ago, and it was similar to that. Tampa
Hmm.
Bay at Carolina. Really feel good about Carolina in this spot. On the road at Philly, though, that's a tough spot. That's a loss. At home against Dallas, also a tough spot. Also a loss. At home against the Cardinals, I could go back and forth. This might be the difference between the 5 and 12 and the 6 and 11, but I'm going to give them the win here. And then
Hmm.
at Tampa, I'll give Tampa the win, and at Atlanta, I will give them the win, especially because they will be a lot more motivated to win that game than the Panthers.
Yeah, not bad. It seems a little optimistic for them to have to be 500 through week 8. You know, they're 4-4, like they're going to be feeling good up through week 8, and
Right.
then they just falter the whole rest of the season. It's like they have like a fighting chance, you know, halfway through the
Yeah.
season, and then they just drop off. But I mean, it's possible. It's certainly possible they can start off the season energized with their new coach and the changes that they have made. But I don't think it'll be good enough to sustain them long term.
Yeah. Maybe the year after is when they truly can make a run.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so do you think, here's the question, do you think that Bryce Young will show significant improvement this year? Or
Oh,
do you
yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
more so going to be like his team around him needs to help develop his play style?
I think Bryce Young will be like a solid backup QB in fantasy this year.
Yeah.
Like you could
So like,
slide him in. Yeah. Like you're going to get some good value if you like draft him in a late round, I think.
hmm
Like, let's just put it this way. Last year, everyone thought like, oh, Kenny Pickett is gonna be like a solid fantasy QB, and he was
yeah.
horrible. This year, Bryce Young, like he's gonna be the sneaky one that no one says will actually be a good quarterback.
Hmm.
Like, I think he'll
Interesting.
be good. Like, he'll put up points. I really do. I think he'll have a much better year, especially with that head coach in there.
So he's going to be throwing it to Xavier Leggett, you said?
Yeah, Xavier, you get. I mean, Mingo will get some action. I need to see who else they add to the roster. I know they added some other offensive piece. I mean, Thielen's
Thielen's
still
still there,
there.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. So he's got options.
All right. There we go. All right, let's head into the Saints record here now. So I've got the Saints going 9-8 and missing the playoffs here. I think that I guess this is probably the exact same record they had this past year, no? They were
It
9-8,
was.
right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the division that I put together here is almost identical to the all of the records from this past year, with the exception of the Falcons being the team that is like one game ahead, or 10-7, and makes the playoffs instead of the Bucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, so here against the Saints record here, they're going to win their home opener against Carolina. It's kind of an easy start for them, but they're going to drop the second game against Dallas when Dallas is at home. And then they're also going to lose to Philadelphia and even Atlanta in week 4. And then, of course, I don't anticipate they're going to get a win in week 5 against the Chiefs, because the Chiefs seem to be quite good. But I'm a little bit worried once I get to the Chiefs schedule here, because I feel like I have them beating like almost every team. So
Right.
hopefully,
No, I
hopefully
know.
the record I put together is not going to be like a 16-1.
Ha.
But anyways, so New Orleans starts off a little bit rocky. They have a tough schedule, I think, in the beginning, other than that Carolina game. But then they come back a little bit. They've got a nice stretch of games here, so they're going to get a win against Tampa Bay and a win against Denver. I think the Chargers will have figured things out though by this time in the season. They're going to drop a game to the Chargers, and then they're going to continue their tear a little bit here. They're going to get another win against Carolina and wins at Atlanta and Cleveland here. So that brings them up to a pretty good spot here heading into their week 12 bye. I think they're 5-6 or something like that, very close. Maybe even 6-5 actually. So they're in a decent spot. You know, they got a chance for the playoffs, and so they're still going to be playing well or playing hard for the rest of the season here. But they're going to drop a game in week 13 to the Rams because the Rams are going to be solid. They've got a couple more easy games after that, though. They've got a game against the Giants, which is going to be a win, and they've also got a win here against Washington in week 15. Closing out the season, though, they're going to drop a game to Green Bay, and that's probably going to be one of the main differences in making the playoffs there because they're going to lose that game. And then they've got a win here at Vegas or at home against Las Vegas in week 17, but it's not going to matter. Atlanta will be ahead of them at this point. And then the final game of the season here against Tampa Bay, they're going to drop this game to Tampa Bay, finish the season 9-8 and miss the playoffs.
I'm telling you guys, I feel so confident that the Saints are going to win the division this year.
Yeah.
This
Well, I
is the best
also
value play.
I also have that one parlay we made back in like March when we predicted all like our
Yeah.
way too early division winners, and I picked Atlanta in that.
Right,
And
I
I
know.
yeah, and I crafted the parlay that's like $50 to pay out like 1 million or something like that. So I had to include Atlanta as my division winner.
Yeah, you gotta be pulling for the Falcons all year, but
Yeah.
I really think the Saints are gonna be solid this year. I could see them winning more games than what I have now, which is 12-5, because I think they truly could sweep the Falcons and the Bucks, which I don't actually have happening, but I could totally
Hmm.
see it happening. There is one game here that we'll get to that I would have probably switched. We'll get to that though. So they start off at home against the Panthers. Already went over it. That's a win for them. On the road at Dallas, though, another tough spot. That'll be a loss. At home against the Eagles, though, I like that one for them. If it was on the road, I'd probably feel differently. Then they go on the road for two consecutive games, Falcons and Chiefs. Both of those, I have them losing actually. So they're starting off 2-3. Then they
Hmm.
even it up at home against the Bucks, so 3-3. At home against Denver, that should be an easy win, although it's against Sean Payton, so the former Saints head coach. So it could be a little interesting there. Then on the road at Chargers, this is another game that they could win, but I'm willing to give it to the Chargers simply because it's at home for them, even though Chargers home games are pretty much meaningless. Then they go on a nice 3-game winning streak before the bye at Carolina. Like I said, they swept them. Then
Hmm.
home against the Falcons and Cleveland, easy wins there. Going into the bye, they're in a pretty good spot. I'm pretty sure they would be leading the division at this point. Then they come back. They're at home against the Rams. That's a win. They lost to the Rams pretty brutally this past year. I think they get this one back. Then at the Giants, I'm going to give them that win. At home against Washington, another easy win. Here's the game I would switch. I would give this one to Green Bay at Green Bay
Hmm.
just because it's on the road in the cold. This is the third to last week. So it's going to be in December. It's going to be freezing. And also, I can afford them to lose a game and still comfortably win the division at this point, especially
Right.
if they were to sweep the Falcons or the Bucks. The reason I originally gave them this win is because I did not know how much it would end up totaling. But when I went through it this morning, I had like the Saints going like 14-3. It was crazy. So yeah,
Wow.
no, I would give them a loss here, but we're gonna roll with it. They're gonna beat the Packers and get revenge for what happened last year, even though when they
Hmm.
played last year it was like in late September, early October. At home against the Raiders, win, and then on the road, they've already clinched the division. They set their starters and they lose to the Bucks.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's solid. You did have New Orleans winning 5 weeks ago when we made our Green Bay record prediction. So even
I
if
know.
you do change it, yeah, so
I
you're
can't I
still
can't
feeling good
change
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gotta sit in there.
fair enough. All right, on to final team in the division, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, reigning division champs, but I don't think it's going to last. I do think they're going to be better than the Panthers. I don't think they'll be the worst team in the division. That'd be quite a little bit of a fall there. Um, but yeah, they're still going to miss the playoffs here. Starting off, they're going to have a good start to the season. I've got them getting wins against Washington here in their home opener. And I even have them beating Detroit, which is kind of a spooky one, but we made that pick a few weeks back. And then
Hmm.
I also have them winning against Denver. So start off the season hot 3-0, but then they have a huge losing streak here, 4-game losing streak. They're going to drop games to first the Eagles, then the Falcons, then New Orleans and Baltimore. So they got a little bit of a tough stretch there. Couple division rivals, couple solid teams in the Eagles and the Ravens there. They're finally going to get a win back here against the Falcons. So they're going to split the division with Atlanta, and then they're going to face Kansas City, and they're going to have to drop this game as well. They're also going to be dropping a game to the 49ers the following week. So Tampa Bay's got some tough teams in there. You know, they've got to face the Eagles and the Ravens and the 49ers and the Chiefs, all because they, did win their division last year. They've got some tough competition. But week 11, heading into their bye, they come back from their bye and they have probably the easiest stretch of their entire season here. They got a game against the Giants, which they're going to win, game against Carolina, which I think they'll win as well. And then they've got a game here against Las Vegas, which I think they're actually liable to lose this one. Feels like another game that could be a little bit tight, but Vegas emerges victorious. And then they're also going to drop a game to the Chargers, who are still going to be vying for playoff contention at this point in the season, I think. And then in the final week of the season against Dallas, I think Tampa Bay will win because Dallas will be resting their starters because they're going to be like 14-2 already.
Yeah, no, I agree that they could definitely lose that Vegas game. I had that
Hmm.
as well. We actually are pretty similar here, at least to start off. I have them
Yeah,
starting 3-0 as well. The little frisky one against the Lions is a revenge game from the playoffs
yeah,
last year.
I like it.
But obviously losing to Philly, which is a revenge game just on the opposite side
Hmm.
in the playoffs. Tampa Bay at Atlanta, Tampa Bay at New Orleans. I have them splitting with those teams, but on the road here, I'm going to have them losing. Baltimore at Tampa, can't give them that win. Not a chance in hell. Atlanta at Tampa, I'll give them that one, but Tampa at Kansas City is a no-go for me. San Francisco at Tampa Bay feels like it could go either way. Like I feel like San Fran's gonna stumble a couple times this year, and
Hmm.
Tampa might be the spot for it, especially because they blew them out of the water this past year. And I just feel like the law of averages comes into play a lot. Going
Right.
into the bye, though, they are in not a great spot. They've only won 4 games so far, and they've
Yeah.
lost pretty much like 6 of their last 7, something like that. Then they go to New York for the Giants, and they go to Carolina for the Panthers, lose both of those. Then they're home against the Raiders, they lose that one. Then they're on the road against the Chargers in Dallas, lose both of those. So at the end of the season here, they are 4-11. It's brutal. It's horrible. Todd Bowles is probably already fired. But they then go on to win at home against Carolina and New Orleans to close out the season to kind of smooth things over a little bit.
That's crazy, man. I didn't think that you would be so pessimistic on the Bucks after their playoff appearance here,
They
but
got lucky,
it could
honestly. Like they were
happen.
in a tough division, or they were in an easy division, so everyone was just
Hmm.
kind of like a pillow fight.
A
Atlanta,
pillow
Tampa,
foot.
and New Orleans were so close by the end of the year. It could have gone either way. And I feel like this year it just won't go in the way of the Bucks. I mean, they're three
Hmm.
games worse. I have them than this past year. And I know they won a playoff game last year, but the Eagles were so bad at that point. So I don't know.
Right.
I think the direction things are going, like Todd Bowles will be fired. Baker Mayfield will
Hmm.
be fine, but he probably won't have as good a year as he did this past year because the offensive
Yeah.
coordinator is gone. I really think he was solid and had a good
Hmm.
contribution to the team's success last year.
I gotcha. All
So
right.
there we
Well,
have it.
yeah, I guess we can go ahead and dive into our best bets here.
Yeah, I'm trying to formulate my best bets for tomorrow for our current week here,
Hmm.
but
Well,
I
let's
had,
just give a quick little overview here. So we're gonna
yeah.
have to start sprinkling some coin for you on these best bets because you have finally eclipsed 50% again in another week here. I think that this is probably I would guess maybe like 8 weeks straight that you have eclipsed 50% accuracy on your bets here. And honestly, it was much greater than 50% for a large majority of them because you went like 83% or higher for like probably 6 of the 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And then you went maybe, I don't know, like 60% one week. And then like this past week is maybe like whatever 4 divided by 7 is. So maybe like, I don't know what that is. Maybe like 50 something percent, 60 something percent. But yeah, still solid overall, and definitely deserving of some coin action on them moving forward. I think you're gonna have to start sharing how many units you're betting on each one as well, or if you're just gonna bet all of them for like 1 unit in your personal coinage. What are you
Yeah,
thinking?
it'll all be like 50 cents or a dollar.
50
But
cents or a dollar
I do
units?
small little bets like that. Nothing
But
crazy.
are you feeling like confident moving forward, knowing that you're actually gonna have to start betting on these a little
No,
bit?
I'm gonna start
No?
losing. I know, like this is gonna be the first week I'm below 50%. I know it. I know it.
Well, dude, I'm just gonna tell you right now, be careful with the Oakland against Boston here and your Colorado Rockies play because they're at the bottom of your list here. They're the last things on your
I
mind. It's
know.
like they're like you're stretching to put them in here, and you always
You're right.
bleed the last game of the week, the last pick.
I do. Yeah, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. So, there's another one that I kind of like, but I like having an odd number of plays.
That's true. That's true. Maybe just you could sprinkle it in there.
You know what? How about we go for 9 plays?
9 plays this week?
Holy shit. This is
Dude, that's
crazy.
crazy. This would be a truly remarkable performance. So I'm gonna guess right now that you're gonna get 7 of the 9 right this week.
There's no way.
No, you are.
I'll probably get like 4.
No, no, oh, dude, come on now. Oh,
I'm
I
not.
like that. Your last play, you're intentionally making it one super confident.
Yeah, no, yeah, minus
165.
165 in the last play. So, anyways, to go through last week, Toronto, Detroit, Kansas City, Philadelphia money lines. Only Toronto and Philadelphia pulled through. The Philadelphia one was just taking candy from a baby, though.
Mm-hmm.
Plus money against the Cubs. Are you kidding me? Easy. Two
Yeah, I
of my
mean,
three
plus you said
Nerfies
like
hit.
they're the best team in the league, of
Yeah,
course. Like that, you gotta hammer that line, bro.
100%. I mean, plus money was crazy.
Yeah.
Cincinnati at New York and St. Louis at Pittsburgh. Those Nerfies hit, but San Diego at the Rangers did not hit that one. Dylan Cease, I think, let me down pretty heavily in that one because he
Mm-hmm.
allowed Texas to go crazy that whole game. Dylan Cease has been kind of bad lately, actually. But now, 9 plays for this upcoming week. Let's rip it here. Chicago, Baltimore, Nerfy. That's Talion and Kramer. You have Dodgers, Philadelphia. I believe, yeah, that's Bobby Miller and Zach Wheeler. Another Nerfy, Atlanta, Arizona, Sale and Gallon. I love that. Oakland, Boston. This is Estes versus Bello. So not great pitchers, but solid enough to get through that first inning unscathed. Minnesota at the White Sox. That's Ober and Fetty. I like those pitchers actually. They're super underrated. And then money lines, plus money for most of these, or 2 of these, I guess, almost 3. Washington, at home or no, on the road at the Mets, but their pitching advantage is much in their favor. Quintana for the Mets has not been great, whereas Irvin for the Nationals has been lethal. He just went 8 innings, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was like 8 innings shutout, maybe only 1 run or something along those lines, 8 strikeouts. He's insane. Kansas City, they got Waka at the Cardinals. I like him at minus 105. I'm going to take Colorado on the road at Cincinnati. They're going up against Frankie Montas, but they have Quantrill, who's not bad either. He's underrated, plus 143. There's value there. Texas on the road. Scherzer pitching against the Angels. I'm going to take them, even though it's minus 165.
There we go. We got some good picks in there this week. I'm honestly a little bit worried about the Colorado game at plus
Mhm.
143. That's probably one of your highest plus money bets that you've made for baseball so far this season.
The highest was that Washington Nationals one. That was like plus 2
Oh,
something.
yes, that was like in
Yeah,
week 2, I feel like, or when you
I
first
know.
started making them. But
That was a long time ago, but yeah, that one I
yeah.
remember distinctly. I actually watched that game and
Yeah.
the pitcher for the Nationals, that was his like debut and he's been so solid. He actually pitched
Hmm.
today, Monday, the 8th, and he pitched great again. Didn't win, but he
Yeah.
had a great outing. So Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I'm excited to see it, and so we're
Nine
gonna have
plays,
to.
dude. That's crazy. Nine plays.
I know,
Fuck.
dude, that's a lot of plays, especially when you come up with them on the fly. Like you
I
literally just
know.
whip those up in the last like 13 minutes. But
Pretty
yeah, that was
much.
crazy.
We got some fan mail.
I know Papa Bear wrote in this week. Pretty exciting stuff. We were on the same. We had a mind connection, dude. Because like his division here is like identical to mine. His AFC South prediction, he's got Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Tennessee. Pretty sure that's exactly what I had. Because I
That is
definitely had
exactly what
Houston.
you had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had Houston winning the division, Jacksonville still making the playoffs, but snagging a
Hmm.
wild card spot. I'm guessing that if he's got Jacksonville in the second spot here, that he's assuming that they're probably going to take a wild card. And then Indianapolis and Tennessee, of course, missing the
Yep.
playoffs here. I think the only difference that you and I had there was that you had Jacksonville as the division winner, and I had
Yeah.
Houston.
For
And then
sure.
AFC East. AFC East, I believe, is also the same here.
Same as
So
both
he's
of us.
got,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got the Jets winning the division, but he told me that he's not as optimistic on them as I was because I got them going like 15-2 or something crazy. But Jets winning, Buffalo still snagging a wild card spot here in the second spot, Miami taking third, and New England being garbage and closing out the division in last place. And he even sent in some picks for the NFC South
Preemptively.
for us this week. Yeah, I like that. He's got Atlanta, Tampa Bay, New Orleans tied with Tampa,
So he's the
and
same as
Carolina
you.
last. That is indeed the same as me. I actually did not even remember what he had wrote in. So I made these picks today before
Mm.
I even like looked at what he wrote in. So
All
we
right.
really did have a true father-son bond, a mind connection this past week.
Yeah, no. That's crazy, especially with Tampa and New Orleans being tied, that you guys
Mhm.
both agreed on that.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I
and like I
think
said, I literally did not even look at that until now. So,
this will be our most competitive like aspect of the year, this New
yeah,
Orleans Falcons debate.
for sure. Yeah, I definitely think that Kirk will play solid and will carry his team to the playoffs for his first year with them. And I'm more optimistic on them than I am with New Orleans. But you have been talking them up. I feel like that's like the biggest
Mhm.
point that you've been trying to
Yeah,
make to all of our followers in the offseason here is that New Orleans is going to be solid. So I'm
it
excited
is.
to see how
So
it plays out.
I better not be wrong. But the
Hmm.
thing about Kirk Cousins, though, is he's gonna start having these nightmares of Michael Penix Jr. Like, why am I dreaming of Michael Penix Jr. in my house, in my bed with my wife? Like, what's going
Oh
on
my
here?
God.
Like,
No, no,
why
no.
is
He's not
Michael
going to think
Penix
that way.
popping up in in everything I think of?
Dude, Kirk is so locked in. That couldn't even begin to filter into his mind. I mean,
I
he's
don't
just
know. He doesn't strike me as the most mentally fortitude of all quarterbacks. Like he definitely is,
no
but
way.
relative to other quarterbacks, like Joe Burrow, if this happened to Joe Burrow, he wouldn't care at all.
No, Joe Burrow's like the most locked in QB.
Like just the most like shielded from external factors. I think Kirk will
Okay.
let that Michael Penix thing creep into him a little bit.
That's a kind of an interesting take there. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think that it would bother him too much, but I just like I don't know that Burrow is like the most immune to external factors. Like what makes you feel that way?
Just because he's always the same. Like he's just cool Joe, as they call him. He's the
Yeah.
most unyielding, even, not going up emotionally with the ebbs and flows of the game.
Hmm.
Just goes out there and plays like he would if they're up by 50 or down by 50. And so I
Okay.
think that translates to off the field stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, that is a nice take, I guess. Well, yeah, I guess we'll see how it plays out here. I'm hoping that, Kirk doesn't have any nightmares of Michael Penix because that would definitely be detrimental to my picks here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's all we have for you guys this week, unless you have anything else to add.
No, no, nothing this week. What division though? Next week? Give a little preview.
I think we have to go back to the AFC, probably
AFC
AFC
West.
West. Yeah.
Chiefs
All
time.
righty. Yeah. Need to iron out the
Mhm.
Chiefs here. I need them at like 12 wins.
Yeah, I need to figure it out because I probably have them like winning so many games through all of these picks we've made so far. So I'm hoping that it's not like I hope I don't have to give them like crazy losses to like really bad teams just to try and compensate for all these wins I've given them so far.
Yeah, no, I know. I think they'll lose a couple of those to the division winners. Like they'll either
Hmm.
lose to like the Ray. I think we do have them losing to the Ravens, maybe
Yep.
the Texans as well. So we'll see. All
Hmm.
right, guys. Thank you as always for listening, and we'll see you next week.